Hello, my name's Colin Crithers, and I'm a student reporter and broadcaster at the University of Iowa. As a journalist, my job is to tell stories, while also balancing everything else going on in my life as a student. But no one tells our stories. So, my goal is to tell the stories of the student journalists, broadcasters, and storytellers all across the country. Let's walk the student beat. Welcome in. Today we're walking the student beat with Trevor Butler of Kansas. Trevor, how are you feeling today?
Doing great. Thank you guys for having me. It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely. Glad you were able to spend some time here today, but spare some of your Wednesday here with me. But if you don't mind just sharing first a little bit about yourself, your background, and the journalistic outlets you work with.
Yeah, so I'm a sophomore here at the University of Kansas. So second year here in Lawrence, first year living off campus. So I have my own room, which is awesome. I am one of the two sports editors for the University Daily Kansan, which is just our student news site here in Lawrence. And then I do some broadcasting on the side with Kansas Club Baseball. And I'm from a little town outside of Seattle called Snohomish, Washington. So I was back there for the summer and I did some broadcasting with AWA Wiffle Ball. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I was like their head broadcaster last year. It was awesome.
That's a
Yeah.
dude. Think about just being a kid. I'm a big baseball guy growing up, especially growing up. Like being a kid, you love wiffle ball, and everyone thinks like you see the wiffle ball leagues and calling those games sound looks so much fun. Are they as fun as they look?
It's so much fun. It's really interesting because it's not like I've done some games with like Kansas Athletics, like I called baseball for them a couple times last year. And it's a lot of work because you're putting together note sheets and getting facts from all these players and everything. There wasn't a lot of that with AWA. It was really just a lot of like there was a lot of bantering and I got to meet all the players and you kind of become friends with these guys and you pick up on stories, you pick up on personalities, and it was a ton of fun. So I'm going home next weekend for fall break and they're doing like their awards ceremony. So I'm gonna be at that, and I know I'm up for a couple awards, so hopefully I win one.
Hopefully, fingers crossed for you. I have
Is that
faith right now. I have faith for you,
sweet?
but we'll dive into this stuff here in a minute. But I have to ask off the bat: is it truly that stark of a difference calling a wiffle ball game and a typical baseball game?
Wiffle ball's a lot faster. That's the big thing, at least the way they play it. I mean, it's you're not even with the pitch clock, there's still some downtime when you're calling baseball.
Hmm.
Wiffle ball really just because a lot of these pitchers will, they'll keep a stack of wiffle balls by the mound with them, and they're kind of just going. I think that's the biggest thing that get through. We would usually get through three inning games in about 2 hours, which is
That's not bad.
it's not bad. It was a fun little evening gig. So you're playing 9 innings in 2 hours. It was moving.
Absolutely. I could imagine being that quick and everything. So that makes sense. But I want to ask you about being from like Seattle. What brought you to Kansas?
There's I tell people there's really three big reasons I did it. The first one was I wanted to go somewhere that had a really strong sports journalism program. I toured KU when I was a junior in high school, and they really went all out for me. I was lucky enough to get on the field for a football game, and I grew up a Texas Longhorns fan. My dad's from Houston, so I grew up Texas football on TV every weekend, and I get all this flack for talking about the dark ages of Texas football because of course Kansas football struggled in the 2010s, but I told people, I'm like, look, growing up watching Charlie Strong, who was a great dude, super nice guy, just those teams weren't awesome. Um, Growing up watching them, those are the teams I was used to. But when I got to tour KU, they were playing Texas. And I remember Bijan Robinson ran for like 4 touchdowns. He went off, but they were like, "Yeah, we'll get you down on the field." And I was all nervous about it. So I remember wearing like totally neutral clothes because I knew I was like, I've got to be like a journalist here. I can't show any favoritism. I got to just go and look like a professional. But I ended up having a really good time on that tour, and I got to tour the journalism school, and that was a really good pitch, and I was pretty bought in from there. So that was a big one. I wanted to go somewhere with a pretty decent athletics program, and obviously Kansas basketball is it's tough to beat Kansas basketball. Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. That was a huge one just because I was like, I want to cover sports at a school where they really care about sports and where I'm gonna have some decent eyes on my work. And I wanted to go somewhere far from home too. I was kind of like, I love the people I grew up with. I have a lot of friendships with people back from home, but I was like, I want to kind of take this next step in my life and, move halfway across the country and kind of do my own thing. And I thought being out here was going to give me the best opportunity to, succeed.
Yeah, no, I like those reasons, and yeah, you've got the whole basketball thing. There, when you think Kansas 3-2-1, anyone's got to say basketball,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna talk plenty about that, but you mentioned getting onto the field, which that's sick. It's pretty.
Yeah.
You're like a recruit. You are a recruit at that point.
I would make jokes that I was a 5-star journalism recruit and they were like, doing all that for me.
Oh my, no, there's a school. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, right? Like you've heard of Northern Kentucky University, which
Yeah.
is maybe 15 minutes from where my dad lives.
Wait.
Um, and I went over there just to like in high school to sit in on an ESPN Plus broadcast, and they're like, "Got to recruit a journalist," or I'm like, That's not how this works, guys. Don't do that. Don't do it." But like, it is funny. I do like that stuff a lot. But like, you get on the field, and you mentioned wearing neutral clothes. You gotta seem like a journalist. Did you know at that point that's what you wanted to get into?
Yeah, so I really figured out, I kind of had an idea when I was going into my freshman year of high school that that's what I really wanted to do. I mean, I grew up being a sports fan. I played pretty much every sport there is to play. I had always been around sports, but by the time I was 13 and I was, 5'3", and it kind of clicked that I probably wasn't going to go to the NBA, and I couldn't really hit a baseball to save my life. I was like, well, we're gonna have to find a different way to get in on this. And I knew, I mean, ironically, you can, if you were to ask my teachers, they would tell you that the fact that I loved talking isn't necessarily a good thing because it meant I was distracted in class a lot. But I love to talk. I love to talk to people. I love to travel, and I loved sports. And so I was like, this journalism thing might be the way to go for me. So I really started doing it when I was a freshman in high school. That's when I picked up like my high school yearbook class, and since then I've basically known this is what I want to do.
It's the perfect mix of everything with travel and sports and camaraderie. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know where else you get that full mix as well as journalism does. But you mentioned going into freshman year, you pretty much knew that's what you wanted to do. What kind of told you? Like, was it just that you knew, like, oh, I wanted to try to find something different? I went into the yearbook class, or was there something that kind of clicked that was like, this is what I want to do?
Well, interestingly enough, I was originally, and I mean, I still am thinking this way. I tell people now that I would love to either go into sports writing or sports broadcasting. Originally, I only thought I had a path in sports broadcasting, and I grew up being one of those kids who, I'd play Madden, I'd play 2K, I'd throw the TV on mute, and I'd call my own games. And my parents would joke with me, my friends would joke with me that, hey, you're like decent at this. You should, look into this further. And I was like, whatever. I'm 12 years old. You're just telling me that to be nice. But I was like, maybe I will think about it a little bit. So I signed up for my high school yearbook class, but at first I hated writing. Like I was when I was in elementary school and middle school, I wasn't necessarily a strong writer and I wasn't really confident, so I didn't really think I could ever make a career or a future out of it. Um, so when I got into this yearbook class and they're like, "Hey, you got to write stories for our news website," I was really concerned. And then I figured out I was like, I can just be a sports writer. I can write about sports and I love sports and I know a lot about them. So it's not like it's going to be something that is going to bore me to death having to write about. And once that kind of clicked for me, I was like, wait, this is really fun. I really like writing about sports. And I got to interview some cool people while I was in high school. And I got to cover some really cool games while I was in high school and really had that passion since I figured out that writing about sports is really fun.
It does help when it's something that you do like.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 'Cause I'm also not a big writer, but I feel like I would be if I wrote more about sports.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the big thing is you have a lot of people who think they could never do this just because they don't see themselves as strong writers. And I'm like, look, if you find something that you're really passionate about and you know a lot about, that's your niche right there. Even if it's not sports, if you know a lot about, I know people who write about fashion or write about music, or like one of my really close friends from high school will write these super long, like he loves 70s music. So he'll write these super long, like Grateful Dead album reviews, and he loves it. And it's his niche. Like he runs with it.
So just like an album review, he just goes through them and like gives his thoughts on it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Do you have like a favorite? Is there one of the, like his favorite articles that you can remember at all?
Think. I mean, it's been a couple years just because, yeah.
There,
But
it just sounds like such a fun idea.
It is really cool. And I've actually always said if I didn't do sports, I would love to do music because I love music and I listen to a bunch of different music. My problem is just that I'm not a very harsh critic. Like I tell people I'm like, you look at my letterbox, you look at my Spotify, and I have 700 songs on my Spotify playlist, and 90% of the movies I review on Letterboxd are 4 or 5 stars, just because I approach everything from this is gonna be great. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to it. Yeah.
No, I feel that. I'll sit there and people like I'll be like, oh, that was nice, whether it's like a movie or a song, and then someone else will be telling me all these things they picked down. Like, oh, I guess I see it now. But I just know I feel that as well. I don't know what that means for me, but I guess maybe yeah. It's just I'm not a harsh critic. I'll
Yeah.
take that. I
I,
like that answer.
yeah.
But you mentioned at the top of this, one of your roles is sports editor for your outlet. So talk to me a little bit about what that role entails, what it looks like as a student, and what all you do for it.
It's a lot of fun. So it's a lot of, we do meetings every Monday for sports. My co-editor and I'm like the other editor is the senior editor, so this is his second year doing it, and he's really good at his job, so he's been a good mentor for me because this is my first year as sports editor. So we put together, just a PowerPoint to run through. Typically, like if we get any feedback to go over with our writers, we'll do that. We'll do like shout outs. So I usually try to make sure everybody who writes the week before gets a shout out. And then like if a Kansas football player has a big game, we'll throw them on there. And there's usually we have a lot of fun with it. It's a really good time. So we'll put that all together. We'll put together a budget for the week and, say, all right, you're doing this game, you're doing that game. We coordinate credentials with people. So we're getting ready for Big 12 basketball media days here in couple 3 weeks. So we got all those credentials coordinated, and it's a lot of just like behind the scenes work. And of course, we cover games of our own. So I've been did some football, did some soccer. I'm going to go to UCF this weekend and do that game. So we cover a lot of games, and then we kind of get everybody else set up to put them in a position to be successful with covering games. And then we'll edit all their articles. So, I'll have one of my writers send me an email, say, all right, hey, here's my game recap from soccer against XYZ. I'll go through, I'll check names, I'll check scores, I'll check stats, and I'll kind of get it all formatted together and sent over to our copy editors.
Yeah, and when I was looking through some of your stuff, I noticed you've traveled to some pretty cool places with this as well. Do you have a favorite location you've traveled for this job?
Man, um, I mean, I've been very lucky. I got to go on a handful of trips last year that were a really good time. I think I went to Morgantown, West Virginia for the football game
Ooh.
last year. That was my first trip in college, and I planned that with one of my really close friends who's also a writer. He's actually the one coming with me this weekend. We planned that in an 8-minute car ride on the way home from church the weekend before. We're like, what if we go to Morgantown? And so we started looking at hotels and ended up planning it out. That was really cool. I think my favorite was I went to Vegas right before Thanksgiving last year and did the Vegas Showdown, Kansas men's basketball against Duke, which is like you
Oh,
you can't you I don't think you can get any better than that. Those might be the two college basketball programs. I mean,
no.
got to see Cooper Flag play, and football had played Colorado about 3 or 4 days before. So there was like a 4-day span where I saw Travis Hunter and Cooper Flag play in person. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Because I mean, they were like the top talent in the country at
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
Like in I like just thinking across college athletics. Cooper
Mm,
Flag, Travis Hunter, who else? Like, I'd throw them up there. I don't know.
yeah.
Should we do like a little
Ashton Genty was probably up there at that point.
Gency? Yeah, yeah, Ash and Gency.
Yeah,
Um, gosh, though, I mean, like that's the cream of the crop right there.
that
That's a
was that was a really fun stretch.
that's a crazy 4 day span. That's also like, was that like a lot on you at all though, going from Kansas, Colorado, automatically right to Vegas?
Not really, because I was just at Kansas, Colorado as a fan, and that was in Kansas City. So that was really just a run-of-the-mill Saturday night game. Um, and then luckily it was right before Thanksgiving, so I didn't have to miss a bunch of class or anything. But I think it was, the Monday before that Kansas Duke game, I got out of class, drove to the airport, and just flew to Vegas, spent a night in Vegas, and then got up at 4:30 a.m. the day after the game and flew back home to Seattle.
Can't complain about that at all.
Yeah, it's
Can't
great.
complain about that.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to ask just real quick, just to make sure, you write feature stories as well, correct?
Yeah, I'll do some features every once in a while. I think the one that was most successful for me last year is, I don't know if you remember it, but there was a lot of people talking about how the Kansas basketball student section was really weak last year. Like that was the thing, and Bill Self talked about it in a presser. And I was seeing all this stuff on Twitter about like, oh, here's why I think the Kansas student section is bad, and it's because of this or it's because of that. And I was like, I'm gonna write a piece on this. And honestly, I just sat at my computer and started rambling. And I was like, I'll kind of format this later. But I basically put out an article talking about, here's 3 or 4 reasons that I think are causing problems, and here's 3 or 4 reasons that I don't think are causing problems. Because I was one of the things that I think I saw a tweet saying like, oh, it's because we have so many out of state students. That's why it's so bad. And I was like, well, for one, as an out of state student, I think that's not true. And that kind of annoyed me. So I'm like, this is why I'm gonna write this piece just to, spite this tweet that I saw. But I ended up interviewing a handful of students who are from out of state, and I got their thoughts on all that. And I talked about, here's, like I said, here's the big reasons that I think people aren't as excited or aren't as fired up. And here's things that I think people are upset about that I don't really think are the case. And they ended up doing pretty well. And like KU Barstool saw it and they retweeted that and everything. And I thought it performed pretty well. So I was pretty excited about that.
It's like, oh, like being off camp, like being an out of state student.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's much of an excuse. And I'm not familiar much with Kansas's campus layout around Fieldhouse. Is that like really close to everything else on campus, the dorms, or is it a little off?
It is pretty much right in the heart of campus. Like the running joke is that the dorms at KU are on the highest point in the state of Kansas because they're up on a hill and everybody hates walking, Daisy Hill or the hill as they call it. But all the dorms are up on a hill here, give or take like a building or two. And you basically just walk down this hill and Allen Fieldhouse is right at the bottom. So it's not really a tough walk or anything. So I'm not really sure what the reasoning behind those takes were.
Yeah, that's when I first think that I think not being right there. Like for example, at Iowa, Carver Hawkeye Arena, where our basketball teams play, it's on campus, but it's like the opposite side of where like the dorms and all typically this like off campus living is.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit further of a walk, but like it's still not much of an excuse. So I was wondering if that was maybe why people thought that.
Yeah.
But so what were some of the reasons maybe for that you came up
Uh,
with?
what did I say? I said I think one of the things was that I think kind of with I remember saying in the article that I don't want to sit here and sound like some like oh phone's bad kind of person, but I think a lot of people are really worried about public perception now, and they don't want to get too like excited or too like I writing the article is how I found out that nonchalant is a word, but chalant is not a word. Because I was basically trying to say I don't think people want to show themselves getting very excited because they lose aura or they look like they're not nonchalant enough because they're
Yeah.
getting all excited. So I said I thought people were worried about like getting clipped and having people make fun of them on social media for getting too excited. I said that one of the things was Kansas's style of play, just because they don't play that really, highlight driven, fast paced style of basketball. It's a lot of just moving the ball, breaking teams down on offense. Um, and I think basketball has become really highlight driven and really like, it's all about explosive plays and stuff, which I don't think is a bad thing. I mean, you see NBA highlights on Twitter and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do these dudes do this? Like it's watching basketball players play at a high level is the most insane thing ever because it looks so easy. And then I go, play intramural ball and go 0 for 10 from three. But I said I think because they play slower, it kind of disengages more people. And then I said something else, but I'm kind of blanking on what it was now. I think I gave like 3 reasons as to why, and then I gave like a little solution as to, how we can move past this.
No, I think that's two very valid points, though. It's like one, like Iowa men's basketball has been the same in the past few years of very slow. Like, well, not very. Excuse me. Like they score a lot, but like there's no defense. They don't play much. They didn't play much defense in general. So people were gonna show up to see the men's team. The women's team, on the other hand, were just doing everything. They've been phenomenal there. But I like that you brought up your first point of like people were afraid of being clipped because that's a real fear at Kansas because Kansas is such a prominent program, I think any fan base outside of Kansas is going to take anything to run with it because
Yeah.
they're blue blood.
Yeah.
Is what
I
it
mean,
is. I mean,
people don't want to look like a guru because either their friends are going to video it and flame them on social media, or they're gonna, if you're getting all excited. Or I remember we played Houston back in January. I don't know if you remember this, like double overtime, big Monday game. My friends and I camped and got the front row for that game. And there's a picture on social media of me and my buddy after we blew the lead. We're like about to lose. His face is painted blue and red. He's got like this like crazy like headband with like hair coming out of it. I'm just standing next to him, and we're both just sitting there like looking, like the 1,000 yard stare, just like. And we got texts from, people at home. I got texts from people back in Seattle. They're like, "Wow, rough day for you." And my buddy's getting texts. So I'm like, "Yeah, like we're gonna get a lot of games on TV, and if you look like a goober, people are gonna see it and they're gonna text you about it."
probably. I mean, part of it's like, yeah, it's all fun and games, but I mean, let people be fans.
Yeah,
Let people be fans. I do remember watching that game, and it was a fantastic game to watch as an outsider.
yeah,
But like, that's a heart wrenching loss right there.
yeah.
I was
And
like, that. No, I gotta feel like that. You felt pretty empty after that, I would assume.
yeah, no, I remember having to go back because it was like a 5:30 or 6 o'clock tip off. So it was over at 8:30. It was over in pretty reasonable time. I remember going back to my dorm, and I just had to like lay down for a little bit because I was like sad and also exhausted because I'd been screaming for the last 2.5 hours. I was just like, what in the world just happened?
I think that game also kind of proved at least that those two teams were legit.
Oh yeah,
Like that
yeah,
was such again as an outsider, such a great game to watch.
yeah. No,
Like
I mean,
maybe not as fun for you being there, but like it was still a great game. It was a good game.
yeah. I mean, even in a loss, I can appreciate that it was such a just bananas game for 40 minutes plus two overtime periods.
That's what I'm having to tell myself from this past weekend, Iowa versus Indiana. I
Yeah,
don't know if you saw the results with that game at all.
yeah,
It was a great game as an outsider. And I can leave it at oh
yeah.
no, that was
No, I mean, if it makes you feel better, we played Cincinnati last weekend. We were up, they had the ball. We were up four with a minute left in the game. They had one timeout left. At one point, we get them into 3rd and 10, and we drop a pick, and they ended up driving the length of the field and scoring a game-winning touchdown without using their one timeout.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I that one's tough. That one's tough. And like especially because I really thought you guys were gonna win that game. I really
Ah,
did. Like not even just like going down, like having that scenario just beforehand. I'm like
yeah,
Kansas.
yeah. I mean, I think we do staff picks on the Kansan, and I think the consensus was Cincinnati is better than West Virginia, who we blew out last weekend, but we still don't think it's going to be very close. And we scored on the first play from scrimmage. Jalen Daniels threw a 93-yard touchdown, and we were losing our minds. And we're like, dude, we're going to win by 30 again. Like we're gonna be 4-1. I mean, my dad and I are delusional sports fans every once in a while. We're gonna be 4-1 out of Cincinnati. We should win at UCF. We're 5-1. We can pull off an upset against Texas Tech. That's 6-1. Like we could win out. This team, we need to buy our plane tickets and get to Arlington for the Big 12 championship game like now. This is happening. And then they lost. And
Because Cincinnati hasn't been too fantastic either. So like
nah,
I was in the same line of thinking that for that.
yeah. At the end of the day, it's the Big 12, and it's maybe the most insane conference in college football. So
It's the most chaotic and
I take every game with a grain of salt.
there. Like, 'cause, hey, this will be a bounce back week, right?
Yeah. Bounce back at the bounce house. That's my headline
Ooh,
if we win.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, you got to run with that. You have to
yeah,
run with that.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah,
I like that. Bounce back at the bounce house. That one's fun.
yeah.
Fun, it'll work.
Never.
Um,
Uh,
and I mean, I'll admit on here, I'm not too high on UCF either. So
yeah,
it'd be cool with a good old win down there in Florida and
I
everything.
hope so. I mean, it's a 7:30 p.m. kickoff, and my flight leaves at 6:30 the next morning. So I'm pulling an all-nighter on Saturday night.
Yeah, you are. I went out to Rutgers for Iowa Rutgers on it was a Friday night game.
Yeah.
Started at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and like we weren't even done with press conferences, I think, until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Gosh, that's rough.
Maybe it was 12:30, but still, it was
Yeah.
like, and yeah, our flight wasn't that early, but it was still like 10 o'clock in the morning. We had a 40-minute drive, so like we're up for the night at
Yeah.
this point,
Yeah.
and
Why
that
not?
point's fun too.
Yeah. You get to 2:30 in the morning and you're like, all right,
We're up.
we're rolling with it. This is journalism. This is what we do.
Exactly. That's where you get the memories out of. That's what our photographer kept saying. We're making memories.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go find a Waffle House in Orlando. That's gonna be the move.
Oh my goodness. There's so many Waffle House stories from
Oh,
our team with the Daily Iowan about just being somewhere. Like we were in Nashville. Um and it was for the bowl game last year, I should say. And I was the only person who had ever been to Waffle House on that trip because I'm from Cincinnati and we have them there. And I guess people don't, up in Iowa don't have Waffle House.
huh.
So yeah, I didn't even think about it. So they're like, yeah, none of us have really had Waffle House. So they had to try it for the first time. And I mean, that was an experience of
Oh
all
yeah.
times. I forced them to go later too, because the later you go, the better experience you get at Waffle House.
Mhm.
I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Oh, 100%. No, I think we've got a handful with me and my staff. I think my favorite one was I was on the women's soccer beat all fall last year, and they went on this crazy run and won the Big 12 tournament. They ripped off like 7 wins in a row to end the year. So one of my buddies and I, we covered the entire Big 12 soccer tournament. They win the championship, they beat a really good TCU team. We're writing our articles. My buddy finishes up the gamer sitting at like the bar at Waffle House because there's a Waffle House on the way back to Lawrence from Kansas City. So he's like, all right, the Big 12 championship game, one of the biggest wins in Kansas soccer history. We're gonna knock out this article at Waffle House. I'm like, dude, let's go. It was awesome.
Confirms the theory. Literally everything has happened at Waffle
Oh yeah.
House,
Yeah.
even the Big 12 championship stories. But I mean, hey, I don't know if you paid how much you've seen with the soccer teams this year. TCU, you mentioned them. They're good, man.
They're legit. I mean, they played us last weekend. Kansas soccer had a tough week last week, and we lost to Baylor and we lost to TCU, but we had a close game. We lost 3-2 to TCU, so they look good this year. I mean, and it's their head coach is super nice. I've gotten to interview him a couple times. I've had nothing but positive interactions with him. So I'm looking forward to seeing where the rest of the season goes for them.
Yeah, they're stacked. It was the one game I called play by play. It was TCU versus Iowa. Uh,
Mhm.
unless I got that wrong. No, I did get that wrong. Excuse me. I called a different game. TCU played Iowa early in the year, and that was a different story. But we were talking about football, and you can let me know if I need to cut this part or not because we were talking about it right before the recording. Is the trip that Kansas might be taking last year? I don't know if
Yeah,
you're allowed to talk about it yet or not.
it's confirmed now. Yeah, they
Okay,
confirmed
good. Okay,
confirmed it
so
today.
sorry.
They confirmed it today.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, and this will be out on Friday. So yeah, perfect. If you want to mention a little bit about what you're looking at for next year already.
So next year, I'm not sure what my plans are going to be, in terms of who I'm going to be writing for. I mean, I might be back with the Kansas and I might try. I'll figure that out in 6 months time. But Kansas football going to London next year, playing Arizona State conference game at Wembley Stadium, and I'm a huge English soccer fan, so I am very excited for that, and I'm working on figuring out how I'm gonna get myself to London for that game.
That's awesome. Dude, that's gonna be such a cool experience.
It'd be great.
I had a guy on the show a few weeks ago from Kansas State who was in Dublin for their game against Iowa State, and he described how they pretty much had a year of preparation, making sure that they had the right people out there, could get equipment, could do this, could do that. Is that kind of what you guys discussed today as well? Just
So they weren't really sure. It's interesting because it's not a week zero game. It's going to be like week three. So I believe we're going to play a week zero game again next year. We played Fresno State this year. So we'll do a week zero game again next year. But we're actually going to be coming off a home game against Mizzou, which is going to
oh,
be, I mean, that's going to be bananas in and of itself. Like I went to the game in Columbia a few weeks ago, that was ridiculous. The return trip to Lawrence is gonna be insane. Um, but we play Mizzou, and then the whole team's gonna have to get on a flight and go to London. Um, so I was chatting with Travis Goff today and a couple other people from the Big 12, and they were kind of talking about that timetable. They said they don't anticipate it to be any different from a regular road game, which surprised me just because you have to bring all this personnel over there. And I don't know if they're going to do it the way they've done it in Ireland, where like the home team has to be responsible for all the game day staff. I would think so, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to be really interested to see how they go about getting all the nitty gritty stuff and you know, all the game day staff that you don't even like consider when you think of running a football game, getting them all over there.
Yeah, that'll be a whole lot. I don't know. I don't know. Like, are you guys technically the home team for that? Do you know?
Yeah, so we'll be the home team for that game, which will be cool.
So Kansas to be responsible for all that. Okay, that is a crazy schedule. Like having a week zero, having Mizzou, possibly Kansas' biggest rival, the
Oh
week
yeah.
before, or but maybe I don't know. Maybe you'll say Kansas State, but either or, and then
Mhm.
going over to London. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I almost feel worse for Arizona State because they play Texas A&M the week before. Like that's in college.
Oh,
So they're gonna have to figure out, they have back-to-back road games, except one of them's in Texas and one of them's in London.
yeah. I guess Kansas is at least home for theirs.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
positive, but whew,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
gonna be
lot.
whew, yeah.
Those Arizona State players are going to see zero class the week between their against Texas A&M and being in London.
It's gonna be
There's the amount of
ridiculous.
class they're going to see.
Yeah.
But oh man,
Online tutors.
sorry.
Online tutors. Gotta say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, I had to because how you get it with journalism, we've got such busy schedules and everything. I had to talk to my advisor the other day. I'm like, all right, how many of my future classes do I have an option to go online for so I can do it in a different location and be ready for my next assignment?
Yeah. No, I had to miss the one of the first days of class this year because they were doing like a media tour of the new football stadium. So I had to email my professors and be like, "Hey guys, I know it's the first day of class and this is a really bad look, but I'm the sports editor for the Kansan and this is kind of a big thing. Can I please miss class so I can go to this?" And it worked out well and they were like, "Yeah, that's fine." But I do kind of feel bad because I know here in the next few weeks I'm gonna be traveling quite a bit. So I've tried to build my schedule where, maybe I'm only missing one day of class or I'm taking an earlier flight so I can get back and at least make one class or something. So we'll see how it is.
We work it all in. We find a way,
Exactly.
one
Exactly.
way, one way or another. Yeah, I mean, I think that's again a valid reason to
Yeah.
miss. I mean, you tell me about the stadium though and everything. How nice is it?
It's pretty awesome. So it's a little weird just because, 2/3 of the stadium are brand new and it's like super legit, super nice. And then the side that the student section is on is still the old, like it's basically just bleachers all the way up. So it's a little interesting, but the new side is beautiful. I mean, it is so cool. The press box is super nice. It's got a huge like work area. They got a bunch of radio booths, so it's like it's legit. It is really cool.
No, that sounds awesome. But while we're talking about stadiums, arenas, talk to me a little bit about Allen Fieldhouse, the fog, and everything. Like,
Man,
what's it like covering a game in that atmosphere?
interestingly enough, so the rule that we have with the Kansan is that freshmen don't do home football or men's basketball games.
Okay, fair.
Well, I haven't done a men's game at Allen Fieldhouse yet. My first one will be here in a couple weeks. Um, but even the women's games are really cool because the women's games you're down courtside and you get to hear all the chatter with the players and coaches. And I mean, I did the Sunflower Showdown for women's basketball last year, and K-State won by quite a few. But there was probably 10,000 people at that game. It was loud. People were fired up. I mean, it's just a cool environment, and this is a school that I mean they do a pretty good job of supporting the women's teams. I mean, I think there's always room for improvement, but I think there's been some really cool atmospheres, especially with soccer doing what they did. We're a pretty big volleyball school, so that's really cool to see. And then basketball has had some pretty packed games. I covered a game where they played Penn State last year,
Mm.
and Kansas hits a game-winning three place, blows the roof off of Allen Fieldhouse. It was awesome. But just even being there as a fan is like just the most surreal experience. And I think it's one of the coolest things ever.
It's a bucket list item. As a fan of just sports, period, Allen Fieldhouse. Whether you
100%.
love Kansas, whether you hate Kansas, it's a bucket list item.
100%. I mean, it is ridiculous. And for how loud that place gets, like,
I could only imagine.
yeah,
Like I've been obviously some pretty loud environments, but I don't know. I don't know if they can't because I don't know. I've never been to Allen Fieldhouse, but
yeah.
how do they compare to one of the best environments in college basketball?
I
I
mean,
mean,
I think it's got to be one of the best.
100% it is.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. I
Not,
mean,
yeah.
it's so crazy. They played like North Carolina came here last season.
Hmm. Oh,
Oh my gosh. I mean, so the way the students get into games is we all camp. Um, so there's, XYZ amount of camping groups. Some games there'll be 10 groups, some games there's gonna be 30 groups. I think there was about 120 groups for North Carolina. It was insane. I one of the KU burners on Twitter took a picture of me camping because I like the way me and my group did it is we had like a Google sheet and we would break up like, okay, this person's camping from this time to this time. So I took like a 4-hour shift one night because I didn't have anything else to do. So I brought a full air mattress in and I'm just hanging out in the corner on an air mattress for like four
you.
hours. Yeah, yeah. And some Twitter burner took a picture of me and like posted, air mattress during camping, #shrink, and it got sent back to me. I was losing my mind. It was so funny. But I think I had I had a DoorDash gift card and I ordered pizza. I was just hanging out, doing some homework,
Yeah.
having a good time. But we were probably group, I don't know, 85 or 90 out of 120. And we were like standing room only up against like a back wall of the arena for that game. And it was still like it was so loud that my head hurt. Like
That's insane.
it was insane.
Lord. I mean, like the whole idea of having that many camping groups is just wild enough.
Yeah.
I don't like just for that game specifically, because I think it'll be the most insane
Oh yeah.
answer.
Oh
How
yeah.
long in advance are people camping out?
Depends on the game. Like some I can try
Maybe even for that like that North Carolina game, because I think that would be the craziest answer.
for that game, I think they started camping a little under a week in advance. I took a picture in my Snapchat of me sitting at like so we have to do lottery for it. So we were at Allen Fieldhouse at 5 a.m. Yeah, so I think we started camping 4 days in advance for that game because you can't start it until like the day after you have a game. So we had a game like the day before. Um, but I think we started camping like 4 days in advance for it, and it's basically from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. You basically need to have somebody inside of Allen Fieldhouse at all times. Yeah, yeah.
That's talk about a fan base that loves its basketball. That's the only thing that comes to my mind right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and people did it because like the way they do it is you can like do roll call at any time. So if there's you basically run the risk of getting kicked off the list if you don't have somebody in there at all times.
It's awesome. Like it's crazy, but it's also awesome, and it's a little mind blowing. It's a
Yeah,
little mind
it's
blowing.
it's bananas, but I love it.
You gotta. That's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it fun. That's why I love college sports, though. Like that's it.
I mean, I think the craziest thing, like my dad told me, he's like, the craziest thing about the fact that you go to KU is you're a 5-minute walk from maybe the most famous arena in all of college basketball and one of the most famous arenas on planet Earth. And like I went to, 12, 13 home games last year. So like I just got to go in there 13 times. Like it's just
You'll be there in a few weeks.
exactly.
That is, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I gotta make my way out to a game
absolutely
down
got to.
Fieldhouse.
It is ridiculous.
I don't even care if it's playing. It just has to happen.
Yeah.
It
I
has to
mean,
happen. Oh my lord! But you mentioned again at the top of the show, you also do some broadcast work with Kansas. club baseball as well. So is that like through your student radio, or is that just your own thing?
So that was just a me thing. Like I did a lot of PA stuff in high school. And I was like, I really like baseball. I know a lot about the game. So we did this event, like it was like a freshman event right at the start of last year, where you got to go to our rec center and kind of check it out. And all the club sports teams are there and you could talk to them. So I went up to a handful of teams. I think I talked to soccer, I talked to lacrosse, and I talked to baseball because I worked with those in high school. Um, and I was like, hey, I really want to get into calling your games, doing that sort of thing. And baseball was like, we've never had anybody do that, but it would be really cool, like because we have parents that want to watch their kids, and it's more of a laid back environment, and they've never really, and they're pretty good. I mean, last year they struggled, but historically they've been a pretty decent team. So I worked with the presidents of club baseball last year, who are both really close friends of mine now, and like working with the journalism school, I rented a bunch of equipment, and we would just live stream all these games on YouTube.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so they had a tournament in Louisiana right around Halloween last year, so I got to travel with the team for that and totally free, which was really cool.
Oh, it's even better, even better.
Yeah. And I got like free gear, so I got my own jerseys and everything, and I got to be around the team a bunch. They're all great dudes, so it was a really cool opportunity.
I have an idea to steal from you now. You
All
said
right.
free jerseys and everything, but like, no, that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, just kind of go out on your own. And asking you now as a student journalist, I mean, you're in your second year, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it important to kind of go out and just start your own thing?
I mean, I think it gives you a unique opportunity that nobody else is really going to think of. I mean, what I'm trying to do this year with this club baseball program is kind of expand it and bring more people in, because I had like we play a fall season and a spring season. Last fall I was by myself, and then in the spring I brought on like a co-broadcaster, color guy sort of thing. This year I'm really busy in the fall just doing sports editor stuff, so I'm not going to be as available. So what I'm working to do with the guys that run our student radio station is kind of turning this into a program where some students that are looking for some more reps, maybe some freshmen that want to get on, kind of doing their own thing, can come work with me and do these club baseball broadcasts. And I can, show them how to work the camera, show them how to work the mics and run the stream and everything. Because I think, if you're looking for collegiate summer ball internships, a lot of things you're going to have some know-how of how to use a camera, how to set up equipment. So even if it's not the same stuff you use here, you at least kind of have an idea of what you're doing. So I'm working into kind of making this a program where I'll still do some games and I'll still hop on, but I'll, work with a bunch of different broadcasters, or sometimes I won't be doing the games and we'll have two new people, and it'll kind of be like a rotating thing where, more people can get more and more experience. So I think, getting to start this and getting to kind of forge a path that nobody's done yet is a really cool opportunity to kind of make it your own and build it the way you want to.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, that'll be a good opportunity, obviously for you and obviously for other people. But like, just to be able to say that you started something like that, I think is really awesome to hear.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping it pans out well this year. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
I'd be shocked if it didn't. There's plenty of people who love baseball and want to get a chance to call it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I was very like I was pretty much looking for any opportunity I could find last year, and I know that there's people like kids like me that are freshmen this year. So I'm going to try and open this up, and like I said, be like, hey, I know you want some experiences. How does this sound? Because this will get you the on-air broadcast experience. You can put some stuff on your reel, and it gets you some of that technical experience too.
Exactly. The whole roundabout. You're in, and it's laid back. It's not like you're going through something strict,
Yeah,
and you can like kind of have a little bit leeway of going, oh, I want to try this now.
yeah. No, I think it's a cool opportunity to kind of get people's feet wet. And like you said, it is. I mean, calling club baseball is really laid back. It was a lot of fun. And I would like my buddy who was the president last year, he played on the team and then stepped away after the fall season because he got the job working radio with Kansas Athletics. So he was calling all of the actual baseball team's games. So once their season ended, he actually came on and called a club game with me, and we had fun, just chopped it up for a couple hours. And, we would bring in players and do mid-game interviews, all that sort of thing. So it was a really cool opportunity to get a bunch of different little pieces put together, all while kind of having a good time and having a little less pressure on us.
Absolutely. It's a perfect opportunity, honestly. I think that's really cool. And I gotta ask real quick, because I've been eyeing some of the hats in the back there. You said you're from a little right outside of Seattle, but are you a Mariners guy at all? Or are you like an Astros
I'm an
guy?
Astros guy, so I think you
Uh
might see 2022 World Series champions hat over there. But my dad's from Houston, so
yeah.
I, even though I grew up in Seattle, I had the Astros on, I had the Texans
Yeah.
on, I had the Rockets on. So those are the teams I grew up watching. Um, I'm in a weird spot with the Mariners being in the playoffs because I have a lot of really close friends that are Mariners fans, and this is huge for them, and I'm really happy for them because I care about these people. I want to see them really happy, and I remember how happy I was when the Astros won. But I've also had a lot of weird experiences with Mariners fans just because they're not the nicest people in the world sometimes. So I'm like, I don't know. Part of me wants them to win, just so my buddies from home can be happy. Part of me wants them not to win because all their fans are still talking about the Astros, and I'm like, guys, you guys are in the playoffs for the first time, and
Enjoy being in the playoffs.
but like, come on, celebrate your own team winning, and don't sit and dunk on the Astros.
Fair. Fair. No, I had to ask real quick because they are in a cool spot
Yeah,
for what I assume, like everything with the Mariners fans, because
yeah.
it's been a while. But I just had to throw that out there real
Yeah.
quick.
Got this whole extensive I'm a big hat collector. I wear a lot of hats, so
Is that the one where it's like, okay, there's like the hook in the bottom top and then it like slides into this little thing? Is that what, I don't know how to
yeah.
describe it.
So it's got the little clips that hold like the.
Yeah, exactly. I've
Yeah.
got that back home at my dad's house actually. It works great. It's
Oh, it's.
amazing.
I almost bought another one because I think I have like three or four hats in my closet, just like sitting up on a shelf because I didn't have enough room.
No,
But I brought this from home this year, and it's been an absolute lifesaver.
it saves so much room and it looks good. And it
Yeah,
looks
I mean,
good.
it looks really cool.
We're giving this thing a free promo right now. Like, here's what since I didn't bring it up with me, I left it back at home. But here's what I've done in my like apartments.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
fire.
I've done like a little hat wall. So
That's
I got the little command strips or like command hooks, whatever.
yeah,
I put them onto the wall and then I'll just hang up the hats and
that's
everything.
awesome. I thought about doing something like that because I have something like that at home with like I have two hats. I have like an Astros hat that's signed, and then one of my favorite singers
Mhm.
signed a hat that I had those two hung up, but I left the Astros hat at home, and I just have my singers merch sitting over here on like a bookshelf.
That's awesome. No, like I gotta give credit to my mom for that while we're on it. Shout out to
Yeah.
my shout out to my mom.
Yeah, dude, shout out to moms. My mom helped me like design it or put everything up in my room and like make it look at least somewhat decent.
I need some help with it. So yeah. No, but we've talked about a bunch of your experiences, things you've done, places you've been, but how easy is that for you to balance on top of also being a student as well?
I think it's definitely tough. I mean, I've always been a school comes first person, and my parents have kind of preached that to me. Their whole thing is like, look, we want you to do whatever you want to do. Like we will support you in whatever you do, but school comes first. Like you can't, we're not, if you're not making grades and you're, not getting your stuff done at school, you're not traveling and you're not putting all this time and everything else. That's the most important thing. So it's definitely tough, but I think the big thing is just knowing what you have going on and building everything else around it. So like these last 2 weeks, I've had people visiting in town, and I'm like, I'm not going to want to do homework on the weekends. So I've sat on a Monday or a Tuesday, and I've just done 3 hours of homework and said, all right, I have to get this done now. That way I can have my time off. And like I go to Orlando on Friday, and then I go home next weekend. So I'm like, I have a lot going on right now because it's kind of midterm season. So I've been spending a lot of my time doing a lot of homework. Like I told you before we started recording that I'm going to do some interviews after this for one of my classes, and then I'll go over to one of my friends' places and we'll work on an assignment tonight after I'm done with my youth group. So it's a lot of just fitting all the homework in and getting it done at a high level.
It's a big old balancing act. It's you're juggling a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean that's definitely part of what it is and just learning to be successful in journalism. Because I feel
Yeah.
like it's something that'll continue.
It's the trade-off. We get all these cool opportunities, but with it comes, I mean, to quote Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. But like, we get to do all this cool stuff and we have all these cool opportunities, but you also have to balance like going to school and fulfilling all those responsibilities too.
Phenomenal reference.
Thank
Phenomenal. I got to give you credit for that. I'll give you a little like what do we do? A little golf clap for it. Keep it respectful.
Oh yeah, high class around here. I like it.
Spider-Man's high class, so 100%. You got to keep
All
it
time.
that way. But I also wanted to ask you, talking about all this stuff and hearing your side and your story, why would you tell someone who's outside of student journalism or journalism in general, why the student side of it is so important?
I mean, I think like like I said, I've known what I wanted to do for so long, and I know that even if somebody's not, doing what I want to do, or they're doing like one of our writers. I mean, obviously he is still kind of involved in student journalism, but he's on the pre-med track, so he's not even a journalism student. I think no matter what you want to do, fulfilling those responsibilities and getting stuff done, getting it done at a high level, building that work ethic is going to make you successful in any field that you're looking to approach. In April of this past year, I spoke at a conference in Seattle, actually, like a high school journalism conference. And I told them, like, look, you guys could decide I don't want to do anything with journalism, but no matter what you do, if you take every opportunity that's presented to you, if you're hungrier than the people around you and you fulfill every responsibility you have to the best of your ability, people are going to notice that. You're going to start getting more responsibilities. You're going to get more respect from your teachers, your peers, the people you work with. I think that's the most important thing because I think that's something that anybody in any field in any walk of life can do. It's if you work harder than everybody around you and you fulfill everything that you need to be doing, you're gonna be in a really good spot no matter what.
Absolutely. I love that. And I would agree with that too. I mean, if your work, it's about the work ethic that you put into it and
Yeah.
everything.
I
I
mean,
see that as student journalism. Yeah.
whether it's journalism, whether it's pre-med, my little sister's going into astrophysics in college, which is so far
That's
beyond anything I
insane.
understand. She talks about, the stuff she's learning in AP physics right now, and I'm like, I watched football today and I wrote an article about it. That's what I do. Like it's two opposite sides of the spectrum, but I've told her, I'm like, look, as long as you are doing what you're supposed to do, getting it done at a high level and taking advantage of every opportunity you can, you're going to be in a great spot no matter what.
And it's the best advice you can give with anything as
Yeah.
well. 100% would agree
Yeah.
with that. But thinking about everything that you've done again,
Mhm.
and you're going to Orlando
Yeah.
this weekend, right?
Yeah.
If you were to have a moment to be able to go back in time and tell that kid who was entering freshman year of high school, or even like the kid that was playing video games, muting it and calling his own video games, that
Mhm.
this is what you're doing and that you're in the position that you're in now, what would you tell yourself?
Man, that's a really good question. Holy cow. Um, ooh, that's a really good question. I got to think about that for a second.
Good.
I
Not
think if I was a freshman in high school and I could tell myself one thing, I think I would just tell myself to stay motivated because I mean, as different as high school and college journalism are, it definitely got challenging. Building a yearbook, there were all these deadlines and it was really like back to the wall. And admittedly, in high school, I didn't have a great work ethic. I kind of put a lot of stuff off and I had kind of cruised through school up until that point. So I was like, whatever, I don't really need to put in all this work. So I think I'd tell myself to stay motivated and that it's all going to kind of be worth it in the end.
I think that's perfect too, as well. As long, that's a big thing with journalism in general. The motivation's a big factor with it.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously know, but it's one of those things where if you don't love this, you are going to burn out of it so fast.
So fast,
Yeah.
faster than you can say that you're going to burn out fast.
Yeah.
Again, I want to give you an opportunity though before we close things out to give yourself a little bit of a plug here. Anything that people can go check out your work and see a little bit more of you after they've listened to this episode.
I mean, you guys are always more than welcome to check out the University Daily Kansan. That's where a lot of my work goes up. The KU Club Baseball YouTube channel. That's where you can see a lot of those games. Obviously, AWA Wiffle Ball. You can go check that out too. And then if you want to keep up with all the little fun things I'm doing, it's my social media on Instagram. I'm at Trev period underscore period Butler. There's a little smiley face in there. I figured that out when I was in like seventh grade, and I've been running with it ever since. My Twitter is at Trev underscore B27, and I ramble a lot about sports there. So those are kind of the big ones. I'm pretty active on social media. I need to get my screen time down, but I'm usually good at responding to people, following people back. So no, definitely go check it out. And if you guys do, I appreciate it. It's great to have people seeing my work. I love doing this, and I love the fact that people want to read what I have to say.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure I link everything I can as well, everywhere this is. But
Right.
again, thank you for joining me, spending some time. I really appreciate you being able to spare a little bit of your Wednesday with me.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I love getting to talk about what I do. I love getting to, talk to people who do the same thing. I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Sweet. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Student Beat. Trevor was sharing with me he's got a bunch of really cool stuff coming up, so you're going to want to follow him for some great content. And if you want to stay up to date with all the upcoming episodes, follow me on Twitter at C_Crithers33, or you can follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The Student Beat. We just walked The Student Beat. We'll see you next week for a brand new episode.